Commander Vex Thor stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Defense Academy, his 4 arms crossed behind his back as he watched the morning drills. The purple sun of Centauri Prime cast long shadows across the training grounds, where hundreds of cadets from various species performed their synchronized combat routines. Their movements were precise, calculated, and backed by generations of proven genetic superiority. "Commander, the Council requests your presence," announced Sub-Lieutenant Krell, his translucent skin flickering with nervous energy patterns. Vex Thor's upper lip curled slightly, revealing a row of metallic blue teeth. "Tell me, Krell, what do you see down there?" His voice carried the distinctive growl of the Centaurian elite. "Sir?" "I see the finest warriors in the galaxy," Sir Krell responded, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with confusion. "The finest warriors in the galaxy," Vex Thor repeated, turning to face his subordinate. His crimson eyes narrowed. "That's what we've always believed, isn't it? That our combined might, our enhanced genetics, our superior training methods make us unbeatable." Krell shifted uncomfortably. "Of course, sir. The Galactic Defense Force has stood unchallenged for 3,000 cycles." Vex Thor activated the holographic display with a wave of his lower right hand. Images of a small blue-green planet appeared, rotating slowly in the air between them. "Then explain to me, Sub-Lieutenant, why the Council has ordered us to integrate these into our training program." The image zoomed in to show recordings of humans, fragile-looking bipeds with no natural armor, no enhanced strength, and laughably limited appendages. Krell's skin rippled with amusement. "Surely this is a diplomatic formality, Commander. The humans can't possibly." "That's exactly what the Drachnid Empire thought," Vex Thor interrupted sharply. "Before a single human female took down their entire royal guard, unarmed." The amusement patterns on Krell's skin flatlined instantly. "But sir, the Drachnids were apex predators. Their natural armor alone was useless," Vex Thor finished, "as was their strength, their training, their confidence. The human used something they call Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, turned their own power against them." Vex Thor gestured to another holo recording. A human, barely reaching the chest height of a Drachnid warrior, flowing like water around attacks, redirecting force, and systematically dismantling opponents twice their size. "The Council has spoken. Starting next cycle, we will host human combat instructors. They will share their techniques." The commander's tone suggested he'd rather swallow plasma than admit humans had anything to teach them. "But Commander," Krell protested, his skin now showing distress patterns, "our cadets train in 15 forms of guaranteed lethal combat. We have the strongest, fastest, most durable warriors in known space. What could humans possibly teach us?" Vex Thor's secondary arms twitched a sign of deep agitation. "That, Sub-Lieutenant, is exactly what troubles me. We know everything about combat. Everything. Our methods are perfected through millennia of warfare. Our genetics are engineered for optimal performance. And yet..." He pulled up another recording. A human female, small even by their standards, facing off against a Drachnid honor guard. The fight lasted exactly 12 seconds. When it was over, the Drachnid lay unconscious, and the human hadn't even broken a sweat. "The Council believes we've become complacent. They think these humans might show us something new." Vex Thor spat the words like they tasted foul. "And I have been ordered to facilitate this cultural exchange." "When do they arrive?" Sir Krell asked, his skin now a sickly shade of gray. Vex Thor turned back to the window, watching his perfect army perform their perfect drills with their perfect precision. "Tomorrow. The humans arrive tomorrow. And Sub-Lieutenant, if you breathe a word of my concerns to anyone, I'll have you cleaning quantum waste filters for the next cycle." "Understood, sir. But what should I tell the Council?" "Tell them," Vex Thor growled, "that the Galactic Defense Academy welcomes this opportunity to broaden our understanding of combat techniques. Tell them we are honored to host our human guests. Tell them whatever diplomatic garbage you need to. But make sure our best warriors are ready. I want to see exactly what these humans are capable of. And more importantly, I want to know their weaknesses." The commander's 4 fists clenched simultaneously as he watched the sun set over his academy. Tomorrow would bring humans soft, weak, limited humans to teach combat to the greatest warriors in the galaxy. The very thought made his stomach acid boil. If only he knew just how much his worldview was about to change. The landing pad hummed with suppressed energy as the human transport vessel descended through Centauri Prime's atmosphere. Commander Vex Thor stood at attention, flanked by his top officers, their ceremonial armor gleaming under the purple sun. Behind them, arranged in perfect formation, stood 200 of the Academy's finest warriors, a not-so-subtle display of martial prowess. "Quite the welcome committee," Sub-Lieutenant Krell whispered, his skin flickering with nervous patterns. "Do you think we might be overdoing it?" "Silence," Vex Thor commanded, though privately he agreed. The council had insisted on this show of respect, but to him, it felt like throwing a military parade for children. The transport touched down with surprising grace, its silver hull reflecting the landscape like a mirror. As the dust settled, a hatch opened with a soft hiss, and the human delegation emerged. Vex Thor's upper arms twitched involuntarily. He'd studied their files, but seeing humans in person was different. They looked so fragile, like younglings who had yet to grow their armor plates. The first two were clearly diplomatic staff, dressed in what humans called formal attire. But the third... Maya Rodriguez stepped onto Centauri Prime's soil with the fluid grace of a hunting Philid. She wore a simple white garment that humans called a GI tied with a black belt. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, revealing sharp features and eyes that missed nothing. Despite being the smallest of the group, something about her presence made Vex Thor's combat instincts bristle. Commander Vex Thor, the lead diplomat, stepped forward, executing a passable Centaurian greeting gesture. "I am Ambassador Thomas Wright. Thank you for this wonderful welcome. Allow me to introduce Master Sergeant Blake Sterling, our liaison officer, and Maya Rodriguez, your new combat instructor." Vex Thor performed the diplomatic response on autopilot, his attention fixed on Rodriguez. She was studying his warriors with an expression he couldn't quite read. Was that amusement? "We are honored," he managed, the words feeling like gravel in his throat, "to host such distinguished guests. Though I must admit some curiosity about the training methods you'll be sharing." Rodriguez smiled. Not the practiced smile of the diplomat, but the confident grin of a predator. "Commander, I think it's best if I show rather than tell. Would you mind if I gave a small demonstration?" Before Vex Thor could respond, one of his junior officers, Lieutenant Krasnaka, stepped forward. The young Centaurian was a prodigy, undefeated in 17 forms of combat. His skin rippled with challenge patterns. "Commander, permission to volunteer." Krasnak's tone made it clear what he thought of human combat techniques. Vex Thor should have refused. Protocol demanded it, but his own curiosity won out. "Very well. Lieutenant Krasnak is one of our most promising students. A friendly sparring match might help us understand your methods." The ambassador looked concerned, but Rodriguez's smile only widened. "Perfect. Standard rules? No weapons? No lethal strikes, victory by submission or incapacitation." Krasnak's skin flashed with predatory colors. "Agreed. Though I will try not to damage you permanently, human." The gathered warriors formed a circle, their collective skepticism practically tangible. Vex Thor watched as Rodriguez stepped into the impromptu ring, her movements economical, precise. Krasnak towered over her, his forearms flexing impressively, armored plates catching the sunlight. "Begin whenever you're ready," Rodriguez said pleasantly, as if inviting someone to tea. Krasnak launched forward with textbook perfection, his upper arms striking high, while his lower arms swept in for a grapple. It was a combination that had broken bones in 7 different species. Rodriguez wasn't there. She moved like quicksilver, flowing around the attacks as if they were happening in slow motion. Before anyone could process what was happening, she had somehow entangled one of Krasnak's lower arms. There was a subtle shift of weight, a precise application of leverage, and suddenly the mighty Centaurian warrior was airborne. The impact when he hit the ground made the landing pad vibrate. Before he could recover, Rodriguez had his arm locked in a position that looked anatomically impossible. Krasnak's skin flashed emergency patterns. "Yield. I yield." The entire sequence had taken less than 4 seconds. Rodriguez helped the stunned lieutenant to his feet with that same pleasant smile. "Thank you for the warm-up, Lieutenant. Now, Commander Vex Thor, shall we discuss the training schedule? I think your warriors might find our methods enlightening." Vex Thor stared at his defeated officer, then at the tiny human who had dismantled him without apparent effort. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something he'd never expected to associate with humans. Fear. The Academy's main training arena buzzed with anticipation. News of Lieutenant Krasnak's defeat had spread like quantum fire through the ranks, but most warriors remained convinced it was a fluke. Commander Vex Thor watched from his elevated position as Maya Rodriguez stood calmly in the center of the combat circle, surrounded by the Academy's top hand-to-hand combat instructors. The assessment will proceed in 3 phases, Vex Thor announced, his voice echoing through the arena. Phase 1, single combat. Phase 2, multiple opponents. Phase 3, environmental challenges. Instructor Rodriguez has agreed to demonstrate human combat techniques against our finest warriors. And after that, Rodriguez added, her voice carrying surprising authority, I'll explain exactly why you all lost. A ripple of angry color patterns spread through the gathered Zentorians. Such arrogance, such disrespect. Several warriors flexed their armored plates menacingly, but Rodriguez appeared completely unimpressed. Master Sergeant Sterling leaned toward Ambassador Wright. 20 credits says she doesn't even break a sweat. The first challenger stepped forward. Senior Instructor Malax was renowned for his expertise in pressure point combat. His 6-fingered hands could disable most species with a single precise strike. Begin, Vex Thor commanded. Malax moved with deadly precision, his enhanced speed making his strikes nearly invisible to normal eyes. His fingers targeted nerve clusters with surgical accuracy. But somehow Rodriguez was never quite where his strikes landed. She moved with liquid grace, each dodge flowing into the next like a choreographed dance. Interesting technique, she commented casually, as if discussing the weather. But you're telegraphing your moves through your shoulder plates. Before Malax could process this critique, Rodriguez stepped inside his guard. Her movements became a blur, and suddenly the mighty instructor found himself floating through the air. He landed hard, his nervous system temporarily scrambled by strikes he hadn't even seen. Next, Rodriguez called out, not even breathing heavily. They came at her one after another. Specialist Dren, with his reinforced exoskeleton and devastating kick combinations. Grandmaster Yix, whose fighting style had evolved from his species' venomous hunting techniques. Elite Guard Captain Zorn, whose bioengineered muscles could punch through battle armor. Each fight ended the same way, with a supposedly superior warrior lying defeated, while Rodriguez calmly explained what they had done wrong. You rely too much on your natural advantages, she told them between matches. Strength, speed, armor, these are crutches that have made you predictable. The mood in the arena shifted from skepticism to confusion, then to something approaching worry. When Phase 2 began, they sent groups against her. 3 warriors, then 5, then 10. Rodriguez adapted instantly, using their numbers against them, turning their coordinated attacks into chaos. Warriors crashed into each other, their carefully practiced formations falling apart as the humans seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. Humans call this battlefield awareness, she explained while casually flipping a warrior twice her size. We developed it because we were usually the smallest, weakest species in any fight. We had to pay attention. Had to adapt. Phase 3 introduced environmental hazards, varying gravity, obstacle courses, limited visibility. If anything, Rodriguez became even more effective. She used the changing conditions like weapons, turning every disadvantage into an advantage. Enhanced vision doesn't help if you never learn to fight blind, she lectured, disabling 3 warriors in total darkness. Superior strength means nothing if you can't adapt to different gravity fields. From his command position, Vex Thor watched with growing unease as everything he thought he knew about combat crumbled. His warriors were the finest in the galaxy, their techniques honed over thousands of cycles. How could this single human make them look like untrained younglings? The final demonstration was perhaps the most shocking. Rodriguez invited any warrior to attack her using any non-lethal method they chose. For 10 minutes, she defended herself while blindfolded, explaining each counter as she performed it. You're dropping your left shoulder before you strike. Your armor plates make distinct sounds when you move. The air pressure changes when you throw a punch. Did you know your bioluminescence has different patterns for different attacks? When it was over, dozens of the galaxy's most elite warriors lay scattered around the arena in various states of defeat. Rodriguez removed her blindfold and bowed respectfully to them all. This is why humans excel at unarmed combat, she said, finally showing signs of exertion. We turned our weaknesses into strengths. We developed techniques that use an opponent's power against them. We learned to read body language, to predict, to adapt. Your warriors are individually superior in every physical way. But they never had to evolve beyond those advantages, never had to think differently about combat. She turned to face Commander Vexthor directly. Give me 3 cycles with your warriors, Commander. Let me teach them to fight as if they were weak, and I will make them truly invincible. The arena fell silent. Every warrior present, from the lowest cadet to the highest master, recognized the truth in her words. They had just witnessed something revolutionary: combat without reliance on superior genetics or natural weapons. Fighting that transcended physical advantages. Vexthor's response would change the future of galactic warfare forever. Lieutenant Krasneke stood before the Academy Council, his skin pulsing with determination patterns. 2 cycles had passed since his humiliation on the landing pad, and he had spent every moment studying, observing, and learning. Now, before the assembled leadership of the Galactic Defense Force, he would reclaim his honor. I formally request permission to challenge Instructor Rodriguez to a full combat trial, he announced, his voice steady despite the gravity of his request. Not a demonstration, not a training session, a true test of skills, conducted according to ancient traditions. Commander Vexthor leaned forward, his 4 arms clasped together. You understand what you're asking, Lieutenant? The ancient combat trials have not been invoked in 700 cycles. I do. Commander Krasnak's secondary arms formed the gesture of absolute commitment. I have spent 2 cycles studying human combat techniques. I have watched every recording of Instructor Rodriguez's demonstrations. I believe I have found weaknesses in her approach. The council chamber erupted in murmured discussions. Maya Rodriguez, seated as a guest observer, simply smiled. Very well, she said before the council could respond. I accept the challenge. But let's make it interesting. She stood, commanding the attention of every being in the chamber. If I win, the Academy fully commits to implementing human combat training across all departments. And if I win, Krasnak countered, you admit the superiority of Zentorian combat methods and leave the Academy immediately. The stakes are acceptable, Grand Counselor Voss declared, his ancient frame rising from his ceremonial seat. The trial will take place in 7 rotations. It shall follow the 3rd protocol of ancient combat. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. And that would be 3 rounds, Commander Vexthor explained, unable to hide his satisfaction. First, a test of pure strength. Second, a test of tactical combat. Third, a test of absolute skill. Victory requires winning 2 out of 3 rounds. Perfect. Rodriguez bowed formally. Lieutenant Krasneke, I look forward to your challenge. The next 7 rotations transformed the Academy into a hive of frenetic activity. Warriors from every corner of the galaxy arrived to witness the trial. Betting pools sprang up, with odds shifting wildly as rumors spread about both competitors. Krasnek sequestered himself in the ancient training halls, working with the Academy's most prestigious combat masters. His training regime became almost mythical among the cadets. 20 hours of continuous combat drills, genetic enhancement procedures to boost his already formidable capabilities, advanced neural programming to upload centuries of combat data directly into his brain. Rodriguez, by contrast, maintained her regular teaching schedule. She continued instructing classes, sparring with students, and calmly explaining techniques. The only change anyone noticed was her spending 2 hours each morning practicing something she called forms in the Academy gardens. She's not taking this seriously enough, Sub-Lieutenant Krell confided to Commander Vexthor. The 3rd protocol was specifically chosen because it favors our natural advantages. The strength test alone will break her in half. Vexthor finished, watching Rodriguez demonstrate a throw to a group of cadets. That's the point. The day before the trial, the Academy's massive combat arena underwent a transformation. Ancient ceremonial markers were inlaid into the floor. Quantum-locked environmental controls were installed to ensure absolute fairness. Medical teams from 17 species were placed on standby. That evening, Rodriguez received an unexpected visitor. Commander Vexthor himself arrived at her quarters, his skin showing formal diplomatic patterns. Instructor Rodriguez, he began stiffly. I feel obligated to inform you that you can still withdraw honorably. The third protocol is historically lethal. Even with modern medical technology, the survival rate is only 70%. Rodriguez looked up from where she sat cross-legged on the floor, that familiar calm smile on her face. Tell me, Commander, in all your research about humans, did you ever wonder why we developed so many different martial arts? So many different ways of fighting? Vex Thor's skin flickered with confusion patterns. I assumed it was due to your species' geographic isolation during development. Partially, she nodded. But mostly it was because we had to. Every human martial art was created by someone who was at a disadvantage. Someone smaller, weaker, or outnumbered who had to find a way to survive. To win. She stood smoothly. Your Lieutenant Krasnak has spent 7 rotations learning how to be stronger. I've spent my entire life learning how to beat stronger opponents. The commander left her quarters troubled, his skin cycling through uncertainty patterns. For the first time, he wondered if perhaps they had underestimated not just human combat techniques, but the very essence of human adaptability. As the purple sun set on the eve of the trial, the academy buzzed with anticipation. Warriors gathered in bars and common areas, arguing about the outcome. Training halls remained lit through the night as cadets practiced moves they had seen Rodriguez demonstrate. Meditation chambers were filled with those seeking insight into this new approach to combat. And in their respective quarters, 2 warriors prepared for battle in very different ways. One surrounded by technology, enhancement drugs, and combat data feeds. The other sitting quietly, breathing steadily, at peace with the challenge ahead. Tomorrow would change everything. The arena pulsed with energy as thousands of spectators filled every available space. Quantum-enhanced viewing screens hovered above the combat zone, providing multiple angles of the upcoming trial. Commander Vex Thor sat in the primary observation pod, surrounded by council members from 27 different species. Round 1. Trial of Strength, the ancient AI announced, its voice resonating through the arena. Competitors will enter the quantum-locked gravity chamber. Standard gravity will be increased incrementally until one competitor submits or loses consciousness. Lieutenant Krasnak entered first, his enhanced frame gleaming with biotechnology. Subdermal reinforcement mesh sparkled beneath his armored plates. Neural boosters pulsed with power along his spine. He looked less like a warrior and more like a living weapon. Rodriguez entered wearing nothing but her traditional white GI and black belt. The contrast was striking. Several council members made sounds of disapproval or concern. Begin at standard gravity, the AI commanded. Both competitors stood firmly as the gravity increased. 1.5 times normal. 2 times. 2.5 times. Krasnak's enhancement systems whirred audibly, compensating for the crushing force. Rodriguez's breathing remained steady, her posture shifting subtly with each increase. At 3 times gravity, Krasnak began to show signs of strain. At 4 times, warning lights flickered across his enhancement systems. At 5 times, his legs began to shake. Rodriguez had dropped into a low stance, her movement minimal but precise. Her face showed concentration but not strain. Impossible, Sub-Lieutenant Krell whispered, his skin flashing confusion patterns. Her species can't possibly. At 6 times gravity, Krasnak's enhancement systems overloaded with a spectacular burst of sparks. He crashed to his knees, then flat onto the arena floor. Rodriguez remained standing. Round 1 victory, human Rodriguez, the AI announced. The arena erupted in chaos. No one had expected the human to win the strength trial. It defied every analysis of human capabilities. How Krasnak demanded as medical teams rushed to assist him. Your muscles, your bones. They should have. Proper structure, Rodriguez explained, helping him up. Correct breathing. Body mechanics that work with gravity instead of fighting it. All techniques humans developed because we couldn't rely on raw strength. After a brief recess for Krasnak's systems to be reset, the second round began. Round 2. Tactical combat, the AI announced. Competitors will engage in armed combat using standard energy weapons. Shields are set to maximum. Lethal force is prohibited. This was Krasnak's specialty. His neural uploads contained centuries of tactical combat data. His enhanced reaction time was optimized for energy weapon warfare. He moved like a blur, his 4 arms wielding blasters with incredible precision. Rodriguez did something unexpected. She charged straight at him. Krasnak's first volley of shots should have ended the match. But Rodriguez moved like water through the energy beams, her path seemingly random yet purposeful. Every shot missed by millimeters. This is a human technique called silat, she called out, closing the distance, developed by warriors who had to fight opponents with superior weapons. Before Krasnak could adjust his tactics, she was inside his firing arc. Her hands moved in precise strikes, targeting pressure points and joint locks. Within seconds, all 4 of his blasters clattered to the ground. And this, she said, executing a perfect sweep that sent him sprawling, is called hapkido. For when you need to disarm multiple opponents quickly. Round 2 victory, Human Rodriguez, the AI declared. The arena fell silent. 2 rounds, 2 victories, using completely different fighting styles. The implications were staggering. But Krasnak wasn't finished. He invoked his right to the 3rd round, despite his injuries. His skin pulsed with determination patterns so intense they nearly overwhelmed the viewing screens. Round 3. Absolute skill, the AI announced. Pure hand-to-hand combat. No weapons, no enhancements, no restrictions except lethal force. This time, Krasnak didn't wait for the starting signal. He launched himself at Rodriguez with everything he had left. His 4 arms became a blur of strikes, each blow powerful enough to shatter stone. His movements incorporated every technique from every combat form in the Academy's database. Rodriguez met him head-on. But now she showed something new. Each movement flowed into the next, her style changing continuously. A Muay Thai elbow strike flowed into an Aikido redirect. A judo throw transitioned seamlessly into a wrestling pin. Karate strikes mixed with capoeira kicks in combinations never before seen in the arena. This is what makes humans special, she said, her voice carrying clearly as she countered his attacks. We don't just learn combat forms, we combine them, adapt them, make them our own. Krasnak fought with desperate intensity, his strikes becoming faster, more erratic. But Rodriguez's defense was perfect. She gave ground when needed, countered when possible, and never stopped moving. The end came suddenly. Krasnak overextended on a strike, his fatigue finally showing. Rodriguez moved inside his guard, her combination of techniques flowing together like a deadly dance. A kung fu palm strike to disrupt his balance. A jiu-jitsu grip to control his arms, a sambo leg sweep to take him down, and finally, a simple but inescapable chokehold. Krasnak's skin flashed surrender patterns seconds before he lost consciousness. Final victory, Human Rodriguez. The trial is complete. The arena exploded with sound as warriors of every species leaped to their feet, their respect and awe overwhelming any remaining skepticism. They had witnessed something unprecedented, a demonstration of combat mastery that transcended physical advantages and genetic engineering. Rodriguez helped wake Krasnak, supporting him as they both bowed to the council. Her voice, though tired, carried clearly through the arena. This is what I came to teach. Not just techniques, but adaptability. The human way of taking different styles, different approaches, and combining them into something greater. Because that's how we survived. That's how we evolved. Not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by learning from everyone and everything around us. Commander Vexthor stood, his skin showing patterns that hadn't been seen in the Academy for generations. Patterns of profound respect. The galaxy's greatest warriors had just learned their most important lesson: true strength comes not from natural advantages, but from the willingness to adapt, learn, and grow. The medical bay hummed with activity as Lieutenant Krasnak underwent post-combat treatment. Commander Vexthor stood beside his bed, watching as regeneration fields repaired the damage from the trial. Maya Rodriguez sat nearby, sharing a quiet moment with her former opponent. I still don't understand, Krasnak said, his skin showing thoughtful patterns. Even with all my enhancements, all my training, all the combat data uploaded directly to my neural network, you countered everything. Rodriguez smiled, but this time there was no trace of the predatory edge from before. Tell me, Lieutenant, when you were learning to fight, did you ever fail? Fail? His skin rippled with confusion. Our training programs are designed for optimal success rates. Failure would indicate a flaw in the system. Exactly, Rodriguez said, standing to pace the room. Humans learn to fight by failing, repeatedly, painfully. Each failure taught us something new. Every defeat showed us a weakness to overcome. We don't just upload combat data, we experience it, feel it, learn from it. Commander Vex Thor's secondary arms twitched as understanding began to dawn. Your species turned failure itself into an advantage. More than that, Rodriguez continued. We turned every disadvantage into potential for growth. When we met stronger opponents, we developed leverage techniques. When we faced faster enemies, we learned to read body language and predict movements. When we encountered superior weapons, we created ways to close distance and disable them. She gestured to the medical equipment surrounding them. Your technology is incredible. Your genetic engineering is amazing. But they've become crutches. You never had to learn how to fight without them because you never had to. Krasnak's skin suddenly flashed with revelation patterns so bright they made the medical sensors beep in alarm. That's why you won the gravity chamber. You weren't fighting the gravity. You were working with it, using principles your species developed when you had no choice but to adapt. Now you're getting it, Rodriguez grinned. Every human martial art started as a solution to a problem. Every technique was born from necessity. We don't just teach moves, we teach mindset. The understanding that there's always a way to win, if you're willing to learn and adapt. Commander Vex Thor moved to the center of the room, his forearms forming the ancient gesture of profound respect. The Council's decision to bring human instructors here. It wasn't about learning new combat techniques, was it? No, Rodriguez confirmed. It was about learning how to learn, how to adapt, how to take different approaches and combine them into something new. The galaxy is infinite, Commander. Sooner or later, everyone meets something stronger, faster, or more advanced than themselves. The key to survival isn't being the best. It's being able to become better. The commander's skin showed decision patterns. Lieutenant Krasnake, as soon as you're recovered, you will assist Instructor Rodriguez in implementing the new training program. We need to completely rebuild our combat curriculum, not to replace what we know, but to enhance it with this human perspective. Gladly, Sir Krasnak responded, his skin now showing excitement patterns, though perhaps with fewer gravity chamber exercises for a while. As laughter filled the medical bay, even the most hardened warriors present recognized that they had witnessed more than just a combat trial. They had seen the future of galactic martial arts. A future where strength came not from natural advantages or technological superiority, but from the willingness to learn, adapt, and grow. The humans had not just proved their worth. They had shown the galaxy a new way forward. One cycle later, the Galactic Defense Academy had transformed beyond recognition. The once rigid training grounds now hosted warriors from every corner of the galaxy, all studying under human instructors. Commander Vex Thor stood at his familiar observation point, watching the morning drills with pride. Below, Lieutenant Krasnake led a class through a fluid combination of Zentorian power moves and human adaptability techniques. His forearms demonstrated holds that would have been impossible before, while his skin displayed teaching patterns previously unknown in their species. Quite a change from last cycle, Maya Rodriguez commented, joining the commander at the window. Your warriors are learning faster than any humans I've ever taught. Because we finally understood what we were missing, Vex Thor responded, his skin showing contentment patterns. The Council reports that graduation rates have improved 40% since implementing the new integrated combat curriculum. Rodriguez smiled as they watched a group of cadets practicing blindfolded. The best part is seeing them create their own techniques. They're not just learning human martial arts. They're developing entirely new forms. The Galactic Defense Force will never be the same, Vex Thor agreed. And we have humanity to thank for teaching us the most important lesson of all, which is that true strength lies not in what you are born with, but in what you choose to become. Below them, the purple sun rose on a new era of galactic warfare, where adaptability and innovation would forever change the way species approached combat.